All right, let's get started. Welcome to Best Technologies webinar on the discontinuation of 3M Novec fluids and securing your future supply, as well as discussing further about the supply of the 3M Novec that's still available and the last order progress. So let me first introduce myself. My name is Mike Bangasser with Best Technology. I'm the president of Best Technology. Where my background is in medical device manufacturing and process development. So we're very attuned here at Best Technology to designing surface finishing equipment and chemicals to specific applications. That's kind of our niche rather than just supplying and being all things to all people. We really dial into custom applications where people need specific equipment and specific chemicals to do their metal finishing processes. So Best Technology, we really concentrate on being subject matter experts then in the industry for everything metal finishing. We've been at this since 1992, and I feel we're well respected in the industry with regards to being subject matter experts in this particular niche. We are also the largest distributor of 3M Novec fluids in the United States. Something that's important to note, we've worked really hard to get to that point. And 3M instills a lot of trust in us with regards to this transition. But before they announced the transition with regards to our partnership and helping their customers continue to utilize their fluids in the specific applications they had. We'll just go over a little bit of agenda today. So a lot of you are here to discuss the Novec phase out. I want to make sure that people are aware that this really is happening. We keep getting people calling saying 3M would never do this. This isn't really going to happen, is it? As we said in previous webinars, it is happening. 3M has already discontinued some of the fluids. As I say, this is a very fluid situation, no pun intended, or pun intended actually, with regards to the current supply that we're in constant discussion with 3M daily with regards to anything that's going to be phased out sooner than what they said for the last order date. And we want to help you manage your phase out supply, especially in highly regulated industries, which are going to have longer times to validate the processes to implement new solutions. So we have a transitional approach plan that we've had since the start. We want to help our customers with this transitional inventory and making sure that they have enough fluid available for them to properly shift and do all their testing to shift to a new fluid. We have a short-term transition plan and a long-term transition plan. We'll share some updates and new releases of products that we've come out with. We have the deepest bench, as I call it, with regards to products for replacements for 3M fluids. We've worked very hard making sure we have replicated every 3M fluid in the 3M Novec line, as well as some other similar replacements and some PFAS-free replacements as well, which is really important to some of our customers. Some want to stay with the exact same fluid, no problem. We've got you taken care of there. Some want to look at next generation PFAS-free products. We have you taken care of there as well. So, and then we'll end with Q&A. I know there's a lot of people in here that have questions with regards to this phase out. Actually, I see quite a few of our industry colleagues and competitors in here from it looks like Kaizen and Microcare and others. And I'm really glad that we continue to serve as a resource for you in the industry to helping each other through this transition. So I'm glad that the people in here trust and instill their confidence in us to guide you in the proper direction as this phase out continues. So let's just look at a little bit of background history of 3M and why and where things are at today. So the HFE market, the Novec market, was in the late 90s, early 2000s, really concentrating in general manufacturing, aerospace, electronics, med device, military, and semiconductor industries, really in two different avenues. The heat transfer fluids and in the cleaning blend end with the blended products that they offer. So the heat transfer fluids are the same that are used in the cleaning products, but the cleaning products blend with the chlorinated fluid that helps them clean oils and other contaminants from surfaces. So the voluntary announcement was reached at December 20th, 2022. They originally said that the announcement for the phase out would happen at the end of 2025. They have recently announced that the last order will be March 31st, and their last production runs would be in second and third quarter, if all goes well. What they're really trying to do is assess, do we have enough raw material to make the products that are being demanded as our last orders? They've already been taking these assessments over the last year by limiting the amount of transitional inventory that customers can buy so that they can see, okay, well, we have this much purchase in the last year, we need this much raw material based on yield rates for the manufacturing process. What we're finding, and we'll get into a little bit deeper, is there's some raw material shortages that they're not able to secure, and it's causing problems with even making, let alone fulfilling last order desired product shipments from our customers. So it's really important to stay attuned to this. We do keep our customers that we have directly understanding what things are shifting. We're meeting with 3M today and do talk to them on a daily basis to get updates. So with regards to this announcement, the previous generations of PFAS from 1950 to 1980s are really the issue with the reason for this phase out. The contamination of groundwater and soil contamination issues that 3M has faced has been at their manufacturing sites. And I really want to stress that it's at their manufacturing sites that have caused the reasons for them wanting to exit in a voluntary end to phase out these chemicals from their manufacturing. There is no current safety issues on using the Novec HFEs. We get customers calling, well, if 3M's stopping this, it must be bad. It's not the actual product, it's the manufacturing sites and the byproducts that are made during manufacturing and the disposal of them that cause these issues. So, and there's only some Novec fluids that are truly considered a PFAS, especially their heavy, as I say, heavier long chain PFAS lines of their PF and FCs have been out for quite a while. They're heavily utilized by the U.S. military and other industries. And they're not able to move away from some of them because they've been used so long, they haven't been able to find replacements or validate replacements. But 3M overall just said, we're done with all of our Novec fluids, including the ones that are shorter chain PFAS and others that aren't contributing to anything with regards to the PFAS and environmental exposures. They just wanted to get out of the industry completely, frankly, to have a clean slate and shut down these manufacturing sites that have caused issues for them and the environment. So again, nothing is wrong with the 3M Novec HFEs, and I want to stress that for people that are putting in their final orders for HFEs from Novec and the replacement HFE exact fluids that we and others in the industry are offering as replacements. So what this really means for our customers is there is no regulatory phase out of HFE fluids in the United States. Again, really important to understand, no safety issues. There's no timeline that any of these will be phased out. They're not under consideration. And when they are start to become under consideration, it takes at least 5 to 15 years before these phase outs happen. A good example of this is M-propyl bromide has been under speculation for phase out for many, 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 many years. Actually, kind of the reason that HFEs were invented and Novec came out was for the phase out of M-propyl bromide. It was finally announced last year that M-propyl bromide will be phased out. So these HFEs are not on the slate to be pushed out at any time soon. And we're trying to raise public awareness out there of differences in chemicals and the generalization that is being made that all these chemicals are bad when there really is no technological viable alternatives out there. We'll go over a few PFAS-free alternatives, but overall, to have a full gamut like the Novec line has, there isn't been any technological innovation in chemicals since the HFEs, frankly, have come out that have pushed the industry to shifting into other fluids. So we're on the forefront of those developments, working with some universities throughout the United States and other companies in the United States and worldwide on developing these alternatives. But there is a time frame in that this takes to have innovation happen, as does any technology, whether it's electronics, chemicals, mechanicals, materials, etc. So this Novec phase out is voluntary. 3M isn't being forced to do it by our government in any shape or fashion. They're voluntarily exiting, as we talked about, because of some manufacturing sites. But this does present a supply chain risk in manufacturing interruption. We've already seen disruptions. Frankly, they had some supply chain issues. 3M had some supply chain issues coming out of COVID that caused some significant manufacturing line issues. And we worked extremely hard to share our supply with all of our customers to keep them from going down. And as these last orders are being put in, we're trying to do the same to balance this out where we don't have one customer that's trying to order, years and years and years of supply, and it's choking other customers out from being able to receive fluid to at least get them by to transition. So we're helping our customers develop a transition plan, and we're really, again, looking at long-term options with scientific innovation, as I mentioned, with various universities and other companies in the United States and throughout the world to come out with a non-PFAS product, as well as really look at the innovation that needs to happen on the specific properties of why 3M Novec is used for heat transfer properties as well as cleaning characteristics. So let's talk about the 3M supply updates that we have. 3M has talked for about 6 months now, plus that the last order date is March 31st. It's really important. We get people calling, they really wouldn't do that. Well, as a matter of fact, they would. They had one of their more popular FC products, FC 3283. They announced, I believe it was in September, late August, that 3283 was being stopped in production, and it was as of October 15th. So they gave about a month's notice that they were stopping, and that was final orders that were being taken because they wanted to run down on the manufacturing and run down that manufacturing process early. So that was a very popular product, and it caught a lot of people off guard. And I think it also woke people up to the notion that this is going to happen. We also saw, as of more recently, that Novec 7300 and 73DE are most likely not going to fulfill final orders that have already been placed, and there'll be no final further orders accepted due to raw material shortages. So again, 3M is doing what they can, but being that this is a voluntary phase out, they can control the phase out how they want. They're trying to keep all their customers happy and going with production until they can transition. But this is one instance where they ran into supply shortages of raw materials, nothing to do with them, where they know their manufacturing yield won't be able to supply the current demands of orders that have already been placed. So since that's fairly recent, we've got to look at other products. 7100 DL, 7200 DL is a very limited marketplace and applications. Those have been wound down for a while. That's a highly purified forms of 7100 and 7200. 71 IPA has also been wound down. It's a fairly low runner for 3M, but overall, there's a lot of medical device companies that use this and some military customers that use it. And now, frankly, they're left without having a fluid if they haven't transitioned yet. So what's available? 7100, 7200, and then the blends of those. So 71DE, 71DA, 72DE, and 72DA. Those are all the big runners for 3M. The 7100, 7200 are used heavily in semiconductor industry, and we hope that they'll continue to have a very large supply of that going into the last order dates and end of production. So we haven't heard of any supply issues with regards to raw materials, but we have seen extended lead times on these neat fluids and the associated blends. So they had lead times down to fairly short at one point, and now we're seeing a pretty big spike in lead times. A product we're supposed to receive here in February that's now getting pushed out to May. And frankly, if what we already have ordered is being pushed out to May, you can only imagine by the end of March here, and we're not talking very long, that's 60 days out, that the orders that come in, if it's already a lead time until May, it may get to be the end of the year before they could fulfill them. And they've already said they really want to finish fulfillment by the end of Q3. The biggest thing that I can't stress enough here is 3M has said to us over and over that order submission does not guarantee it will be fulfilled. Because this is a voluntary phase out, 3M does not have to fulfill every order. Frankly, they could stop production now and just say we're done. They're doing people a favor, if you want to look at it that way, by continuing to manufacture this product, but they don't have to. And we have seen again where they phased out some of these products when we didn't have a time frame on them, and they said, well, it was low enough production. We're going to stop there. Last summer, likewise, Canada was shut and reduced from the 3M Novec supply chain, and that was fairly unannounced as well. And we got lots of customers calling here saying, "Well, what's happening? Why are things being shut down from the Canadian end when the U.S. markets continue to receive product?" It was just an internal decision at 3M. And they decided to focus on their larger markets that they have and continuing to supply product to them as the demand is continuing to be seen. So it's really important on that front. We can't stress enough. Don't wait till the 31st of March to get your order in. We will do our best to fulfill everything we can. But 3M is really turning to its distributors and mainly us to helping them fulfill this. They have laid off a lot of their employee base in their sales force, but also at their facility and their plant in Cordova, Illinois. And if that's been reduced, you can only imagine that the manufacturing output is significantly reduced. So we cannot stress enough. Don't wait to get your order in. Talk to our staff here. Many of you are already working with them, but talk to them here to make sure that your orders are in and placed, and we can give you updates on lead times. We can't control the lead times, but we can certainly shift things as needed of the supply that we have here in our warehouse if our customers are saying they're going down. We need to make sure that they're truly going down and it's not just trying to build supply, because we want to be fair to all as we help all of our customers transition. So a little bit more background of Best Technology and Chemicals. We've been working in the chemical industry since the 1990s, as I mentioned, and frankly, these phase outs are not usually voluntary. They're usually mandatory from the EPA. As a new technological innovation has come out in chemicals, they'll phase out the prior one. As I mentioned before, the M-propyl bromide has been out for a long time, great cleaner, but for employee exposure is not the safest product to utilize with the HFEs that are out in HFOs. So we've been working on these phase outs. We've been able to transition customers since the 1990s to different products. It happens, and it's unfortunately just the way it is, but it's also good to know that as technology changes, we're adapt to being able to phase out chemicals that are more harmful for the environment and employee exposure. So we're the largest distributor of 3M in the United States. We came on with 3M in the 2012 era when AK225 from AGC was being phased out. 3M approached us to be a distributor for them because of the large market share that we had of AK225 from AGC. So all of our product that we'll go into that we're selling is tested through an ISO facility and lab for testing incoming product control, etc. One thing that 3M does wonderful is their product quality is top notch. We have really not received a product batch from 3M that doesn't meet specification in the 10 plus years we've been doing work and business with them. So their quality control is really important, and we know our customers' applications quality control is paramount. So we've established these facilities here to make sure that everything we have coming in is being tested in similar fashion. And frankly, if you look at our certificates of analysis, is more rigorous than what 3M is reporting in their reports, because we want to make sure our customers have confidence in these products. Why, you may ask? Because our primary segment is really highly regulated industries of medical manufacturing, aerospace, semiconductor, military, you name it. These customers demand to have high quality product. And if they don't and their manufacturing processes fail, there is, frankly, if you want to call it life or death situations here where these products can impact. So in medical devices, if you think about cleaning the PCB circuit boards and in medical device defibrillators and aerospace, a lot of these circuit boards that are in aerospace aircraft are cleaned with Novec fluid. Semiconductor in etching materials and through semiconductor manufacturing are utilizing these Novec fluids. So very important in that end. And because of that, they require extensive manufacturing process testing and validation to make a change. They can't just say, okay, well, 3M is done with production, we'll just go to XYZ product. They really need to test to make sure that not only is that specific manufacturing process, been tested that it's not impacted, but anything downstream that there's no adverse effects in any downstream manufacturing process, which could impact their final production part. So my background is in process development at Boston Scientific and medical device, and this is exactly what I worked on for many years, was making sure these validations are well documented to submit to the FDA whenever we make a process change. So that ties in with the regulatory testing and reporting. Not only internally do they need to make sure that this product change is okay, they need to go and justify it with the regulatory bodies that exist that they report to control these industries to make sure the products that are continuing to be developed and manufactured are done so in a quality fashion. So there's time that's needing to be allotted to this whole transition, and we're working with our customers currently on this transition process. It's really important for our customers to um, be diligent about their testing, but also really try to move things along. If you haven't already and they're not in testing, we're here to help you. We can help expedite some of that testing and stuff that we've already done. But we really need our customers to realize this last order date of March does not guarantee fulfillment, and we've got to get a move on. So let's look at the options. Since 2022, we've had many customers try to stockpile their inventory. 3M tried to limit that, and rightly so, to prevent a supply shortage where someone wasn't stockpiling for the next 5 years, and then they had a supply shortage for the current production demands, and other people being able to purchase transitional inventory. We've seen decreased production output and layoffs, and some, as I mentioned before, some of these products have already been discontinued. On the near term, we really want our customers to feel comfortable with the change that's happening, and it's usually easiest done so without having to change the equipment that they're using the product in. And if they can have an exact fluid that they're familiar with, that they can transition to, it expedites this testing process and regulatory reporting. So we've said this from 2022 on, that our near-term solution is for our customers to transition to these fluids that they're used to, rather than having to go into extensive testing on something completely new that would take too long. We want them to transition to near-term fluids that are already currently in production. Now, some people are looking at longer-term solutions. Fantastic. Maybe they have the capital approved to purchase new equipment and invest in their future, and look at chemical innovation. What has been developed since the HFEs from Novec in various HFOs and others, looking at that innovation if they have the luxury of time to be able to go through this testing process. So we really want to cover the gamut to protect our customers in their manufacturing processes, to not see their manufacturing lines go down in production because of planning or supply chain issues. So as I mentioned, in the near term and immediate term, we want to eliminate the supply chain risk. We want to reduce manufacturing costs because we've seen 3M Novec fluids increase in price tremendously since COVID. So we were able to reduce manufacturing costs of the consumable end of the product by up to 30%. Some are even more than that. And we, again, want to have ease of validation of using that current equipment with exact molecule or drop-in replacements that customers are comfortable with. It just makes the whole process much easier to do so on an engineering end, to be able to have the equipment that's already validated and just making a material change that is of like kind. So let's drop in and look at our different fluids that we have. We've developed a BestSolv chemical line that on the cleaning fluid end, we have the exact molecule. When you say exact, it is 72DA in every shape and fashion. And we have similar formulations that exhibit the very similar cleaning performance. The difference between the exact and similar, they're as it says, very similar. There is some price differences there, and there's some price if we're able to go to a similar, as we call it, drop-in replacement. The cost reduction is even more significant. If a customer just says, you know what, we've been using 72DA for the last 10, 15 years, we need to stay with it, fantastic. We have supply chain secured to make 72DA, and we're currently shipping 72DA, as we call it, BestSolv 72DA, shipping it to our medical device and aerospace customers in volume already. So with these three things in mind, we've been able to replicate this entire 71DE, 71DA, 72DE 72DA, and 71 IPA as well. So all of these formulations for the cleaning blends are covered on top of the 7100 and 7200 exact molecule replacements. On the heat transfer end, we're seeing customers have even more demand for exact molecule replacements on the 7100 and 7200. That was the whole reason that we expanded our supply chain in that end. They're looking for same thermal range and performance. Every customer that approaches us on heat transfer applications in semiconductor manufacturing has specific characteristics of the Novec fluid they're dependent on, vapor pressures to viscosities to heat transfer rates, etc. They're dependent on them. Their processes are dependent. We could get them a similar molecule, but to them, it's too much risk. So we have exact replacements for these heat transfer fluids, such as 3283. Again, this long chain heavy PFAS. Some people are really dependent on it, including our military. That's why we've developed a very similar molecule or exact molecule, frankly, that exhibits the same properties as 3283. But a lot of our customers, fortunately, have transitioned, and 3M did a good job with transitioning people from the FC products to the Novec products of 7100, 7200, 7300, and 7500. We have that whole offering tied up for our customers to be able to transition right from the same Novec fluid right into the BestSolv line. These are requests from our customers. They're nervous about the supply chain, and we've done our homework to make sure the supply chain is tied down for them. Personally, myself, I traveled over in Asia this fall to visit our manufacturing sites, make sure that we did a full quality audit on not only do we know the incoming quality product is coming to us because we're testing it in our lab, but make sure that the product as it's being manufactured is done so in a way that's repeatable and in a quality fashion. We've received plenty of samples from manufacturers throughout the world that they can produce a nice sample, but they can't produce it in volume. We need hundreds of tons of quality product to replace our customers' Novec fluids, and we're demanding that of these various facilities throughout the world to supply such product. So we've really done our homework on that end. We've kind of developed what we call a proven process. Unfortunately, the time frame that we're sitting in right now doesn't allow for us to go through all of the steps that we normally would like to see a customer through, but the ones that have been working on this for a year or two have been able to look at a whole wide gamut of these replacement chemistries. Can we work with a similar drop-in replacement? Do we have to go with an exact replacement? Hey, let's check out the latest technology and look at new products. They've been able to test all of these. We have TDSs and SDSs, of course. We have many samples out to customers to test their processes. They can test them in their own equipment. If they need us to test it in our lab, we certainly can do so. Then they go through the qualification process and implementation process. What we say right now, because we're at the end of January, early February of 2025, if you haven't started, you've started too late. But we're here to help. We've done the legwork for you. I'll show in the next slide, I'll show you a cross-reference table of all the fluids. All you have to do is match what you're using in Novec to the BestSolv line, and you can expedite the testing process and qualification of the BestSolv and implementing it. So we're able to cut out having to look at all these fluids. We've done the homework for you. We've had a lot of other customers test similar applications to you, which we can share without breaking confidentiality. We can share some of the performance differences that have been tested in our customers' applications, so you're able to fast track this transition. So if we look at this next slide, as I mentioned, you can literally just cross-reference in the cleaning fluids our exact molecule. You're using 72DA, no problem. Let's get you to BestSolv 72DA. You want to look at a replacement fluid, we call it drop-in replacement. Our alpha line is fantastic. It performs nearly identical and is formulated nearly identical to the 72DA, and it costs a fraction of the price. The BestSolv 72DA is exactly the same HFE and 1,2-trans dichloroethylene that 3M manufactures, just not manufactured by 3M. So we have the full line. If you want to expedite things and go right into the exact molecule, no problem. We have all of it in stock and available. or if you want to look at a drop-in replacement for even more cost reduction, we have that full line. We came out with the drop-in replacement first. We actually introduced one of the first companies worldwide that introduced these replacement fluids. Within 3 months of 3M announcing this, we were in research and development and had launched this alpha through theta line by February of 2023. So these have been out for a while. Our customers are using them, and the customers that weren't able to use them is why we came out with these exact molecule fluid replacements, which have been out for a year and a half in that front too. So there's a lot of choice here. We can help you make the choice. We can guide you once we know your application and we know the severity of what the validation may look like. We can give you our experience from other customers that had to validate these changes and what they did and why they went with a particular fluid because of the time frame they're in. If we look at the thermal fluids, we've got a great lineup there. So again, your 7100, 7200, and 7300, and even the 7500 here are all exact molecule replacements. If you had been using the 649, which is their thermal cooling fluid for data centers, we have our Zulu product. There was a blend or a type of the 649 that worked for magnesium casting. We have that what 3M called the 612. We have that product as well. And then, of course, the ultra famous 1230 product, which was for fire suppression. We have that as well as our Zulu FS, as we call it. Those three products were one of the first ones that we were able to come out with, as I said, in February of 2023. More recently, the 3283, as I mentioned, the last order date was in October. We have BestSolv 3283, same CIS numbers, same performance characteristics and various thermal and physical properties as the 3283. And we're continuing to come out with more as we see some more demand of the FC 40, FC 770, and others. We're continuing to have these replications. We're not looking to copy 3M. We know that they're phasing these out. We need to have these replicated exact molecule replacements for customers that don't have a choice, but they have to stay with these fluids because they've been using them, and validations may not exist to be able to make these changes. So these are all the fluids that I would call exact molecule. On the right-hand side, I didn't list all of our drop-in replacements we have for thermal fluids, but there's a whole gamut that's available, and PFPEs to similar FC products that are not quite the same properties, but pretty darn close. There's a lot of opportunity here for thermal fluids to transition to, but I wanted to highlight the exact molecule because we're seeing our customers in this thermal fluid and semiconductor manufacturing space just want to stay with the exact molecule because how critical the purity is and the molecule is for the process. They cannot handle having purity issues and having a little bit of a physical property difference. They need them to be exactly the same. And I do want to make a note at this point that there is some other manufacturers out there that are advertising that they have some of these fluids. I really want to stress that make sure that it's truly virgin material. Some of these fluids are recycled 3M Novec, which we've seen that throughout years that people are using recycled product. But there is frankly, some virgin product that's not as pure as what it needs to be a true replacement for the 3M product. So 3M makes a very great, as I said, quality-wise, makes a great product, and it's ultra pure. The stuff that we're supplying, the purity is tested at the factory as well as it's tested in our ISO lab here. And it's really important in that end. If there's too much contaminants, and it doesn't take much, these products can cause havoc in heat transfer applications. So as you're looking throughout the internet and other places, really understand, is the purity that's being advertised really what it is? If it's not, it could cause havoc. And if you're finding that something's too good to be true, as in the rest of life, it probably is. So we have vetted out so many different manufacturers of these molecules and got down to the ones that provide the best quality in a scaled format that we're able to meet the production needs of our customers. So long term, what are we looking at? People are saying we want PFAS free. Fantastic. We have that already. if you're able to move to something where it's going to have different properties than the Novec fluids. We have on a cleaning front the BestSolv Omega, which is an HFO blended with trans. So the 1,2-trans dichloroethylene is the cleaning constituent that really exists in all of the blends for 3M Novec that really does the cleaning. The 3M Novec HFE purely inhibits the flammability of 1,2-trans when it's blended as an azeotropic or near azeotropic mixture. So the BestSolv Omega has some cleaning properties of the HFO or HCFO on top of the 1,2-trans. The Omega actually is a stronger cleaner than any of the HFEs that are offered out there in industry, including all the 3M Novecs. So it's a fantastic cleaner. Now, these new fluids, since they're new technology, they are a little bit more expensive. We've been able to secure some really good pricing on them, and we're passing that pricing on to our customers, but they are a little bit more expensive than the 3M Novecs. We've got BestSolv Zeta, which is the neat fluid to the 1,2-trans blend of Omega that is utilized in light cleaning applications and in the thermal fluid end. Again, the 3283, I guess on this slide that says PFAS free, it is an advancement, but it is a heavy chain PFAS. I do want to make sure that we state that. So at the bottom of this page, we define that when we say they're non-PFAS, they're not PFAS defined by Minnesota and Maine regulations, and that's defines it as having at least one fully fluorinated carbon atom. That is the most stringent definition of what a PFAS is. Frankly, the EPA has not defined in definitive terms and scientific terms what truly is a PFAS, but they're more than willing to characterize 6,000 plus different chemicals as a PFAS without having a definition. So what we did is we said, let's take where there's been legislation that's been passed that is very strict. Let's make sure our products pass that standard, knowing that if they were to change and say you can't have any fluorine or any fluorination in a carbon bond, that would make it a PFAS. Nothing would exist then that has a carbon fluorine bond, and you'd frankly have severe industry disruption if you couldn't have that. And the legislatures and professionals in these states know that, and that's why they said anything that's more than one fully fluorinated, if it has at least one fully fluorinated carbon atom or more, exhibits the properties of not being able to break down in atmosphere like a non-fully fluorinated carbon atom. And that's really the goal here, is by defining PFAS as the forever chemical, the reason it doesn't break down is because of this strong fluorine carbon bond. And that's what people are considering. Hey, this could be harmful for the environment because it doesn't break down. Or if you call it a forever chemical, the reality is it depends on how many carbon fluorine bonds there are in the configuration that determines how long will these exist in atmosphere, or frankly, overall, if they exist in soil contamination, how long will it take for them to break down? The reality is the shorter chain PFAS will break down much, much faster in a matter of years than longer chain, which can exist if you want to call it as a forever chemical. But even they have durations of time in which various conditions will exist that will break them down. So that is what we call the long-term plan, moving to something that is truly a newer technology to be able to last you even longer in the phase-out cycles, if you want to look at it. And again, the HFEs are not being phased out. It's only 3M that's announced that they're phasing them out or discontinuing production, not necessarily phasing them out. A little bit of more background about BestSolv, if you've heard of it. If you haven't heard of it, it is rated the #1 3M Novec replacement. The most R&D has been done with this BestSolv product to as a 3M Novec replacement. It, as I showed you, is the most comprehensive 3M Novec alternative offering, from similar molecule to exact molecule to next generation molecules. And it's all brought to you by the largest authorized distributor of 3M Novec fluids. So we know the marketplace the best because we've been in the industry the longest, developing and forging these great relationships with many, many industries. The minute that this phase out was announced, we really got our teams together and developed these products and put them through the ringer on the R&D end. These aren't these just products that have come off the shelf. They've taken a lot of time in the R&D end, and then supplying this, then shoring up the supply chain to making sure it can meet the hundreds of tons of demand of our customers in the industry here in the United States and frankly worldwide. So with that, why don't we wrap up with a little bit of Q&A? I wanted to keep this to about a 45-minute presentation. Just as a little bit of a wrap up, this is a voluntary phase out or actually discontinuation. There's nothing from the US EPA or any safety issues on the Novec products themselves. So there's no reason to be concerned that they're going to be phased out in any near-term time frame. The last orders from 3M are March 31st. We cannot stress enough to get your orders into us sooner than later so we can line them up in the queue to make sure that if a large customer comes in, that isn't gobbling up all the supply. And as a matter of fact, we saw this in COVID with DPAS rated orders from the government will trump any order that a private company has in. And it's law. It's not like, you can go and ask, pretty pleased to get an order or try to pay more to get it. Legally, we, as well as 3M, have to give any product that's available to a DPAS order before any other order. And we do anticipate, and we've seen some large DPAS orders come through from the government trying to secure some final product. So as those come in, they're going to cause even more difficulty with securing production requirements. Make sure you get your orders in. Hopefully we can get them fulfilled before any other DPAS orders come through. We're balancing this the best we can with our replacement plan of eliminating the supply chain risk with the DPAS orders, frankly, but any kind of raw material supply issues, being dependent on one manufacturer like 3M, and having multiple supply chains in multiple countries for that front, reducing the manufacturing operating cost and having that ease of physical characteristics, ease of validation and physical characteristics. I showed you the full gamut of cleaning fluids, thermal fluids of exact molecule, as well as like kind or drop-in replacement, as we say. And then we talked about chemical innovation of BestSolv 7500, Omega, Zeta, etc., looking down the road a little bit. So with that, I'll open things up to questions that people may have. Looks like there's quite a few people in here. If you want to send them to me, I'm happy to answer them for you. And it looks like they're starting to come in here. See if I can get it so I'm not having to scroll so much. If 3M stops production, and I guess it's not if, it's when, where will the substitutes come from? There is no other HFE mass production facility in the United States, and I don't foresee there being one because of the litigation that 3M has found themselves in from prior manufacturing site byproduct pollution. So I don't know that the United States government would approve anything to be even built in here if it wanted to be, but on a risk end from a company, I don't foresee that. So the majority of the supply of similar fluorinated fluids is from the Asian markets, and again, we've traveled there, have great relationships in those markets to be able to secure exact molecule and like kind molecule replacements. There is a question here with regard, follow-up question with regards Omega and Zeta are U.S. manufacturing and how low is the GWP? The GWP is extremely low. And the U.S., that is not U.S. manufactured. That is overseas as well. Again, even with HFOs, there is some HFOs that are manufactured in the United States for foam blowing and some refrigeration end, but even that is being sent to overseas. So any plans? Someone asked, is there any plans for South Coast air quality management compliant fluids? Is BestSolv 7200 compliant? And as a VOC end and et cetera and others, it can be used in some instances. We did see a couple years ago some further restrictions in the South Coast air quality regulations that did restrict use of some of these products. Uh, is there any updates on 7500? Um, we have some 7500 currently being sourced, but before we really have released it in volume to our customers, we're shoring up the supply and making sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. The last thing we want to do is release something that the supply chain isn't strong enough to withhold the demand, or the quality isn't there. So stay tuned on that front, but it's currently developing. We are finding a lot of people that think that they're dependent on 7500 are able to transition to another fluid. They just had been kind of, it's available from Novec, so why not stay with it? So feel free, Rise, to reach out to our staff, and maybe we can help you from that end. Um, the Any other questions that are coming in here? And by the way, I have our chemical team on hand. If there's any questions that come at me that I'm not able to answer, they're certainly available to answer those questions for you. So a lot of the other questions that are coming in are kind of specific with regards to specific fluids. I would advise you to contact your rep here at Best Technology on specific fluids and lead times for on the Novec front, because that is ever changing. I heard yesterday that again, some stuff had been pushed out to May that was supposed to come in here in 2 weeks. So we really try to advocate for the customer with 3M and try to tell them why we need certain product. But as they make their manufacturing production schedule with a significantly reduced staff, they have to do this in batches and in reduced manufacturing lines. So we do have supply in stock of various Novec fluids, and then of course of all the replicated BestSolv blends as well. So if you're not able to get the 3M product, for example, 73DE, when that got announced that they're just not going to make it because they can't get any raw material supply, no problem. We've been able to transition our customers. It is the exact formulation. We've been able to transition our customers to that fluid. Now, were they forced to do it faster than they wanted to? Yes, but there was no other choice in that fashion too. So we've been really trying to tell our customers, do it before you're forced to, but when they were forced to, we were still able to meet the needs of the customer in a quick fashion. So other questions, some of them are with regards to why is there, if the 3M 649 and the 1230 are the same, why did we name them differently? Actually, the 649 and the 1230, while the molecule is the same, the purity level requirements for 649 for immersion cooling require a significantly higher purity. And we saw a lot of people out in industry offering this 1230 or 649 replacement, but as a matter of fact, it wasn't high enough purity, and we saw some of our customers that were using it in heat transfer applications have severe discoloration and contamination in their equipment that caused damage to it. So we've decided to distinguish them as separate because our 649, our Zulu as we call it, is a higher purity grade. It does cost a little bit more, but it is a higher purity grade, and that's really important in those applications. In Novec 1230 and 612, those are used for fire suppression and inhibiting flames. The purity isn't as important because that's being dispersed as a vapor over whatever product is combustible. So for exact formulation replacements, are dilute additives such as stabilizers in the 73DE? Or could these be different? The stabilizers that are typically added to these blends are typically added to the 1,2 trans and stabilizing that 1,2 trans. And the answer is yes. In most instances, I know for a fact, in the instances of these exact formulation, the 1,2 trans is exactly the same, and that is actually staying from the same supplier that 3M is utilized. So that isn't even changing. And that's why I try to stress in these blends, while we're saying, hey, you have to go to a different vendor if you want to call it. The reality is the trans has stayed the same. The trans is actually what does the cleaning. So effectively, in a generalized sense, there really is no change. The 7200 and 7100 and 72DE is purely inhibiting the flammability of that mixture of trans in the azeotropic form. So hopefully that answers your question. We can certainly get into more details if you want to give me a call or any of our staff a call. We'd be happy to dive into that further, Michael. Any other questions? We still seem to have quite a few people in the room here. Happy to answer them for the next few minutes. I see Kara has raised her hand, but I don't know that I see a question from you. If you can type the question the in the Q&A under the chat button, certainly I can get to your question that you may have, Kara. I believe there's an exit survey that comes out after you take after this webinar. We really would like to get feedback from our customers. We have a few more months of final orders, but we really would like some feedback from our customers and people on this call that what are you not seeing from us that you want us to supply you with for information, for product, etc. And we'd love to hear, where are you in the transition process? Are you starting to scramble because you know that these products are being phased out and the realities here? Or are you already testing fluid and you're just trying to shore up, uh, shore up supply until you can transition to another fluid? If it's not our fluid, no problem. We're still here to help you as a Novec customer or just a customer in the industry. We're still here, and we pride ourselves in that as subject matter experts. You don't need to be our customer to call us and ask questions. We're happy to help. So, sorry, Kara, I didn't see it until now. Is there a PFAS-free version for 7100? It depends on what your application is, Kara, for your 7100 and what physical characteristics you need to replicate. But yes, we have a PFAS-free version for 7100. And it says you're thinking long-term. Fantastic. Glad that you are. It it's something that we're continuing to develop with, as I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, with some universities for looking at, frankly, any non-fluorinated, non-PFAS heat transfer fluid. So we're working on those in research with a few universities and a few companies, but they do take some time. But the PFAS-free version we have is a replacement for 7100, depending on what characteristics you're looking for. So if you haven't been in contact with our applications engineers here at Best, make sure you reach out to them and we can look at your application. We can hop on a call and really go through it with you. So Don is looking for BestSolv products approved for use in California. That's similar to the question that was asked about the South Coast air quality management. And some of these fluids are approved for use in that, and some are limited. And we saw a few years ago a shift to the Honeywell fluid that it boils below atmospheric temperature. I'm totally blank on the name, not Scion. Anyways, we saw some shift to that, and because in California. So depending on the regulations with VOCs and others, the big kicker for vapor degreasing solvents is most of them need 1,2-trans dichloroethylene to clean, and those are in fact limited in that end. Our Zeta, our PFAS-free product, has a chlorinated component to it, and it might do the vapor degreaser cleaning without even needing to be blended with 1,2-trans. So certainly be able to look me up, and I'm happy to address your questions. Kara's asking, can I provide contact information? Sorry, I should have this on this slide. So you can look on our website, either bestsolv.com or besttechnologyinc.com for all of this information. If you want to get a hold of us, you can email chemicals@besttechnologyinc.com or sales@bestsolv.com. Our phone number as well you can call is 612-392-2414, and to reach our chemical applications staff is extension 2. So once again, that's sales@bestsolv.com or 612-392-2414, extension 2. We'll get our applications people. I'm sure that they'll be busy today after this webinar with this many people in here. So give them a chance to get caught up. But certainly we get back to everyone as timely as we can. So, any other final questions as we wrap up here? Looks like there's still quite a few people in the room. Let me scroll through to make sure I didn't miss anything. Don't think so. Perfect. Well, that's all the questions we have. Certainly, feel free to give us a call, and we're happy to help. Again, if you're not a customer of ours, no problem. We're here to help. This isn't a situation that was easy for the industry to absorb, that a major manufacturer is voluntarily discontinuing production. We understand it's tough, and we're here to help. If you're going with someone else's fluid, no problem. We get it. What comes around goes around, and we want to be here to help people, and we hope in the future at some point maybe you give us a chance to earn your business down the road. So don't hesitate to call. We're happy to help in any capacity possible. And with that, I wish everyone the very best day, and we look forward to seeing you again. We'll probably do another one or two of these webinars before the formal shutdown from production has been announced from 3M, and we'll have some continuing throughout the summer with regards to that. Excellent. Thank you so much, Don. Really appreciate the feedback. Everyone have a great rest of the day and take care now.